What's up, everybody? How y'all make it out? Got a great guest and all-around entertaining guy in addition to being a shred-tastic drummer. And Shane Mathewson of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Did I say that right? Canada's noise rock power trio, Kenmode. And in catching up with Shane, you will hear no shortage of bro-tastic rants and silly stories, including, but not limited to, arm wrestling, MMA, hockey, not understanding Canadian football, outrageously long drives on tours, not playing with dynamics, and a whole lot more. And I gotta say, of the many times I've seen Kenmode throughout the years, they were in especially killer form while blasting through many of the choice cuts from their nearly 20-year discography. And my God, they were just absolutely on fire. They're just killing. So if you've not seen them and so happen to be a consumer of all things noise rock and or just want to see a killer rock show, I would strongly recommend it. They're definitely continuing the legacy of bands like Dead Guy, Unsane, Bark Market, Jesus Lizard, Rape Man, Shellac, and apparently a Canadian band named Kittens that I was previously unaware of. And what a fucking insane name that is for some crazy Canadian noise rock band. Shout out to St. Vitus Bar, as always, for making so many of these podcasts possible. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to both Shane and the Kenmode guys, as well as St. Vitus Bar for continuing to put on killer shows. I'd have mentioned Twitter, but personally, I fucking hate Twitter. So I actually do have a Twitter page, so feel free to like that as well. Or just leave crazy comments and troll me. I honestly would be fine with that. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking at putting out vinyl for your project, check out NewOrleansRecordPress.com. They're the first state-of-the-art record pressing facility in the city of New Orleans. And they'll press 12 or 7-inch records in either 150 or 180 grams. Plus, they have colored vinyl options, center label printing, blank and printed packaging styles, deluxe audio mastering, precision lacquer cutting, and electroplating. Some scientific shit, right? They'll even offer professional graphic design and project consultant services. Don't see what you want on their site? Need more options? Contact them for special projects. They also do projects of all sizes, from runs as low as 100 units up to commercial pressings in the thousands. So check them out, y'all. And tell them Crash Bang Boom sent you. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. So here we go, y'all. Shane Mathewson and Kenmode. Light the candles of noise rock. That's my parody homage to the one and only Dean Del Rey. So here we go. Without further ado, Crash Bang Boom!
Crowds go mad with joy.
Shane Mathewson, Kenmode, what the fuck's happening, dude?
Hello, we're in the basement of St. Vitus.
It's the way it goes. I've done no shortage of these interviews down here. Intermittently, if you hear that noise right there, that's just a little compressor kicking on so dudes can get wasted at a metal bar, bro.
I remember the last time we played in St. Vitus, it was right when our previous album, Success, had come out, and we had driven from, I think the show before was in Toronto.
Wow.
And we had just shipped all of our pre-orders for the LP. Spent a bunch of time with the United States Postal Service and Canada Post, shipping out all the stuff. And on the way to St. Vitus, we found out that apparently the B-side of the LP had the wrong band on it.
You got to be kidding.
Yep. So there was a pressing plant screw up. And
was the band at least cool? That was
no, it was like a country band. But
oh my
I remember
God.
we found out just before we got here, and we had. It was not a good experience at Canada Post specifically, where we had to go back twice because their system crashed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we got to St. Vitus, and I came down to this basement and just screamed.
Really?
I was so mad, and it was a perfect storm of just annoying things that had happened. So that
sucks.
I was fine after that. But it was I remember as soon as we came down here, I was like, oh geez.
That wasn't one of those straight 30-hour drives to get here just to realize that the records were wrong, right?
Yeah, it was because we had done that little run for when that album came out. I think it went Toronto and then Brooklyn.
Okay.
So it was Winnipeg to Toronto was like 24 hours.
That's still 24 hours.
Yeah, but that was a couple days into it. So Brooklyn wasn't. We weren't that sleep deprived, but I was pissed off.
I guarantee you were. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for the listeners to clarify, 30 hours from Winnipeg to Brooklyn.
Yeah, ish.
And you've done that trip one time all the way through.
Yeah, we had it where one tour in 2013 ended in DC, and then we were supposed to play a fest in Calgary, which is in Canada. It's like 15 hours west of where we live in Canada.
Yeah.
So I remember, and our trailer actually broke down on that tour in Brooklyn.
Oh,
so
God.
we had to drive from DC back to Brooklyn to get the trailer once it was finally fixed, and then drive from Brooklyn to. We were going for Calgary, so that was 45 hours.
45.
Yeah, 45 hours. So I remember it being like 30 from Brooklyn to Winnipeg. But an asterisk to that, we never made it to Calgary because the fest got canceled.
Oh!
Right around the time we were hitting Winnipeg, the fest got canceled because I think it's the Bow River that goes through Calgary had flooded, and it flooded out the whole city. And that they just canceled everything.
Holy shit.
So it was like the perfect storm of stupid things that had happened where it's like, all right, the trailer broke down. All right, well, we got to get that fixed. And it was, getting it fixed. It literally broke down in Brooklyn.
Oh, man.
So we couldn't move it.
Wow.
And then, so it took a long time for that to get fixed. And we were supposed to have a week in between the last show of that previous tour and playing in Calgary, and then it turned into we had 2 days to get there, which is like just enough time to drive straight, and then it got canceled anyway. So
oh my God!
It was very ridiculous. Yeah.
Holy shit! The comedy of errors.
The life of a touring band. Yeah.
Wow, dude, that is impressive. My mind is blown.
Well, it was memorable.
Yeah.
We always say we're just looking for memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the very least, you get a good story out of it.
Yeah.
You just have to detach yourself from the emotional distress you were experiencing at the time and just tell it as a funny story.
Exactly. If you don't think about it in the context of it happening to you.
You're right. Just imagine it happened to someone else.
Yeah. Then it would be a good scene in a movie. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Well, congratulations on the new album. It sounds great.
Thank you very much.
I love it that y'all worked with Andrew Schneider on this.
Mr.
Obviously,
Schneider.
y'all worked with Kurt Ballou previously. What are some of the other producers y'all have worked with?
Well, the last four, it was we did Venerable with Kurt Ballou.
Okay.
Then we did Entrench with Matt Bayless.
Okay.
And then Success with Steve Albini.
Oh, wow.
And then this one with Andrew Schneider.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's a 4-punch combo that's hard to top.
That is amazing. Everyone you just mentioned, all great at cranking out heavy/noise rock/ heavy bands.
Yep.
Period. Just getting great sounds.
Yeah.
Of those experiences, what are you most proud of in the end result? Would you say thus far?
Well, I think I've talked about this with my brother, our singer/guitar player. That if you're
Jesse Mathewson?
Yes, if you're not the most stoked on your new one, you should probably re-examine what you're doing.
Right.
So I am most happy with the new one.
It sounds
Loved,
badass.
Yeah, and I think it's our most cohesive piece as a whole, like down to that the artwork matches the way that the album sounds tonally and in mood.
The cover is creepy as fuck.
Yeah,
it's the creepiest album cover y'all have ever put out. I would
say,
bar none.
Part of the reason why the album sounds like it looks is that album cover. It's our friend Randy Ortiz, who's done artwork for a bunch of our stuff. He's done our shirts. He did the layouts for the last bunch of records. He had done that piece a couple years ago, and he had made these stickers for that piece. And Jesse had one of those stickers sitting on like his nightstand or whatever. So he was looking at that like every day for like, a couple of years while we were writing it. And we had asked if he would be open to letting us use it for the artwork, and he said yeah. So we knew that was going to be the artwork before the album was really written.
Oh, interesting.
So it is kind of one of those, like, the artwork did kind of influence the direction of where we were going, and not like, oh, we were writing this to fit the art.
Sure.
But it was in the can before the album was even written. So
clearly could have had it influenced on some mood, and it's just to have some sort of visual correlation, even if it's in the back of your heads, even if it's unconscious, whatever. I could see how that would one way or another probably affect it if you had that idea going into it.
Yeah, totally.
That's really cool.
I can't speak for the other guys, but
right. Yeah.
My beats are innocent.
Yeah, exactly.
Their riffs are what got sullied by the artwork.
Well, you mentioned your brother growing up in Canada, Winnipeg.
Yes.
That's Manitoba province? Is that a province?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Manitoba's like right above North Dakota.
Okay.
So it's right in the middle.
The Dakotas.
Right in the Dakotas.
Yeah, you don't have like the nasally North Central American / Canadian thing. You don't seem to have that.
The Dakotas they've got their own thing going on.
Yeah.
Like we obviously Canadians do have accents, and it changes as you go across Canada.
Yeah.
But it is funny that North Dakota is so close to
right.
Manitoba, but we don't really sound similar. They got that funny Fargo kind of the Midwest, like with Minneapolis and stuff like that. They've got a little bit of that too.
Yeah, it's very strange.
And obviously not everybody. Like I was think of some of our experiences with kind of regular people in the Midwest have been like at restaurants and stuff like that, and
right.
We've heard a lot of like suburban ladies, at restaurants going like, "Oh yeah, don't you know? Yeah, yeah." And everyone like, "No, they sound like the stereotype."
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we get a skewed sample from hanging out with people at shows and stuff like that. Because it's not your average citizen that's going to see Kenmode play when we.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, yeah.
Growing up there, what did you do as kids? What were your childhoods like, and at which point did you two both decide that you wanted to not only be in bands but potentially be in a band together?
Manitoba's it's a prairie city, so I have trouble describing exactly.
Do you like Canadian things? Have you gone ice fishing? And if so,
I've never been ice fishing.
Did you play hockey growing up?
We played hockey. Yeah.
Okay.
I was a goalie. I've always gravitated towards the backbone positions of stuff.
Oh, really?
Where the goalie's not the glamorous one, but if your goalie sucks, your team's gonna lose. Yeah. So it's kind of like a band where a great drummer won't make the band, but a shitty drummer will ruin the band.
Yeah, there is an absolute correlation there.
Yeah. But I don't know. Growing up in Winnipeg, it's because it's pretty isolated. We always say that it's, your options are you play hockey or you start a band. Because per capita, there are a lot of really great bands that come out of not a, gigantic population,
Do you attribute some of that to the just indoor nature of avoiding the brutal fucking cold and just focusing on
I think so,
your craft?
Yeah. It's when there's not a lot to do, you got to focus on something. So
right.
But yeah, so that we focused on music. I don't think it was a conscious decision to pick a street with I'm gonna do music. But my brother and I really loved music growing up and wanted to get instruments and start a band, and that was influenced obviously by our local music scene. There were a couple bands in Winnipeg that we really, really liked, that we went to. Like our first shows weren't concerts, they were going to see the band Kittens that was from Canada. The
most Canadian rock and roll band name I've ever heard in my entire life.
We're
going to go check out Kittens tonight.
Silly band name, but they're one of to this day one of my favorite bands. They're
shit.
Brutally heavy, and they've got their own thing. So any listeners who want to check out some awesome noise rock from Canada, it's Kittens.
Really?
They're around from 1991 to 98, something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, great band. Silly
sick.
name. Kind of like my band.
Oh, watch yourself.
Yeah. Great band. Great band, if I do say so myself.
Was there any particular recording or anything outside of just seeing local bands that was influential to the both of you that might have had a sculpting in what you would ultimately do together?
Not really. Like the Kenmode started as a thing between Jesse and our first bass player. They always, were kind of musically bonded from an early age, and
Okay.
I kind of came in not later, but by kind of by proximity. I was around, and I went like, I want to play drums, so I kind of jumped onto their thing. And obviously, in the years past, that have passed since then, it's become a thing more between my brother and I,
Right.
and now with Scott. But yeah, it didn't start that way. It wasn't like the brothers' brainchild. It was my brother and our original bass player, and then I kind of just jumped on.
The brothers Mathewson.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming in some of those early incarnations of whatever bands y'all are doing, was this all going down in your parents' house as well? So,
yeah.
So
Yep.
both of you are just making shit tons of noise.
Yep.
And the bands are practicing.
We have very understanding parents.
That's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. To this day, they're very understanding and supportive people. Yeah.
Wow. What did your parents do?
They're both accountants.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Both.
by no means rock and roll musicians.
No. Well, and I'm an accountant too.
Are you really?
Yeah, by
so you're good with
trade.
numbers.
I am.
You're
I do,
a pragmatic kind of guy.
I do the tour accounting every day. We do cash counts. It's important. Band on the road. You need to know where your money's going.
That's impressive, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, so my both of my folks are CPAs. I'm a CPA in Canada. It's a weird juxtaposition, but we make it work.
That is wild. I think of 110 episodes that I've done, I think you're the first accountant drummer that I've spoken to.
It's funny, on this tour, right before we left on this tour, I did an interview with the CPA magazine in Canada. And they're coming to our Toronto show to take some pictures.
Oh.
It's funny because the Toronto show's at a club called the Bovine Sex Club. So I got an email like earlier this week or late last week with the photographer from the CPA magazine saying, I just want to confirm the details of where I'm going.
Yeah.
Bovine Sex Club?
The Bovine Sex Club.
Yeah, that's right.
Right on. That might have a potential. I don't know how much bestiality is going on in your neck of the woods, but I'm from the deep south, so I think if there was a place called the Bovine Sex Club, I would just assume that there was definitely some pig fucking going on.
You'd think.
Yeah.
It's a little on the nose though. That said, it's not like the photographer from that they're getting. They're not an accountant. It's just
right.
It's a photographer saying like, I got an assignment to take a picture for an accounting magazine. This will be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm sure as far as assignments go for them, it'll actually not be that bad.
Yeah. That's funny, man. Well, with specific noise rock, I guess, was there any particular New York band or anything that was influential for you guys, or was it still like a lot of, when you in hindsight, a lot of local bands that were really influential to you guys?
Unsane, definitely, and you can hear that. You can hear that in our music. Yeah.
Yeah. I've interviewed Vinny, the drummer, and he's an absolute character, classic Italian Bushwick character.
Yeah.
You know, like nearly died twice. Like rolls up to the kit with a cane, still rocks it.
Yeah, I know. He's
fucking hardcore.
We went and saw them in Minneapolis last summer, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy to see, and it's obviously unfortunate that he's walking with a cane, but he gets up there and he still kills it. Yeah. It's crazy. He's in his 60s. I
believe so.
Yeah, still killing it.
Yeah, man.
I can only hope to be doing that when I'm that age.
Jesus, you know what's funny, man? Immediately when I thought about like where you live and whatnot, I thought about ice fishing, fucking hockey and whatnot. I recently watched Canadian football.
Okay.
I didn't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, but an aspect of that game is that it incorporates some aspects of rugby as well, so they can kick the ball at different times than they would with American football.
I am the worst person to ask about the differences between Canadian and American football, but I know a couple of them are there are less downs.
Okay.
Because U.S. Okay, this is going to show my ignorance on all things sports. U.S. there's 4 downs. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Canada there's 3.
Okay.
And then field goals are worth less points in Canadian football
because they can kick more often. I think that's part of the
I
deal.
don't
That's
know.
another way of scoring. It's a very strange game. I watched it recently.
I know there are some funny differences, and that like it's funny because for like football fans from Canada, they'll watch Canadian football, but the true football fans just watch the NFL because it's where the best of the best go, right?
Right.
So it's good if there's nothing else, but and I'm obviously I'm not a big football guy, but I know some friends who really like football and they watch the NFL. Yeah.
Right.
It's the best of the best.
Listen now.
when you're in your off time, when y'all aren't running around and touring or doing whatever, what do you do to not turn into a fat bastard? You look like a slim and trim kind of guy.
Well, thank you. That's partly just genetic, but I do exercise. I do a lot of cardio stuff, elliptical, and do some weight training.
Okay.
So, but I will be 100% honest. If I didn't do any of that, I wouldn't look that different.
Really?
Because I'm part of it. Like, you go on tour and you're not exercising really,
Right.
but you are playing every day, and it's not. Drumming isn't good exercise, but it is something.
It's something. It's sweat.
Yeah. It's not. I don't even want to say it's not good exercise. It's not good cardiovascular exercise, or it's good training for drumming.
Right.
But it is a weird, like, you're sitting in a chair, so it's
Right.
not. Yeah.
It's similar to, I know people that do a good bit of bicycling, and I've gone on like mountain biking tours with guides and everything, and they all have guts. And the whole thing is like you're still sitting down.
Yeah.
This is something where you're sitting down. So maybe you're engaged in certain aspects, and drumming obviously more so arms and legs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's not a full body thing that's engaging everything across the board necessarily.
I don't want to give no credit for drumming,
Right.
because you're like, well, it can't be nothing if you're sweating
It's
that
definitely
much.
not nothing.
Yeah. But also, it's not like you get back from tour and then get on the elliptical and go like, oh, all that training on tour really helped me to, get my cardio back. You feel like you've been doing nothing for a month.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, there's some great mixed martial artists that have come out of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all at all like? Are you MMA fans?
Yeah, MMA is the sport of choice for our band, really.
Really?
MMA. My brother Jesse, he trains Muay Thai. And
Awesome.
Has for 10 years now, 12
No
years,
shit.
something like that.
Damn, dude.
He was actually earlier this year. He was in Thailand training.
No shit.
But we watch a lot of MMA and kickboxing. He watches more kickboxing than I do. But that's our jam.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football, but I know something about MMA.
I guess that's how much of a jock I am. I'm like, yeah, I'm watching football. I'm like, there's a fight this weekend. Fucking A. All right,
Yeah.
we're watching MMA too. Yeah, I'm all about all that madness.
That's my jam.
I do love it. I think one of the many reasons why I love MMA is just such an extreme form of athleticism. And to tie it into drumming, I think growing up, I found that it just in studying with different guys that I was trying to acquire different skill sets through different cultures and whatnot.
Okay.
And I felt that was akin to watching these MMA guys that have to have such a broad skill set to bring to the table. So you have to, in their instance, if you're going to study wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever, all of it, you have to have so many facets to your game to present this strong whole. And I thought that was an interesting correlation between like pursuits and drumming and becoming a better drummer. So.
Yeah, that's incorporating different techniques. And it is funny because like drumming in a band like my band it's mostly basic techniques. You're not doing a lot of subtle.
No, there's not much nuance. It's not jazz.
Not a lot of subtle, double stroke rolls thrown in there for, flavor, but
more bombast and single strokes.
More bludgeoning. I did a written interview for a magazine where they were asking about different musical styles if I incorporate into our band. And I was just straight up and said, like, not really.
I think it's funny that they asked.
Yeah, there's not like, and I like all kinds of stuff, but I'm not using a lot of Latin beats in our shit.
No. You have independence in the parts that you orchestrate. I think that there's some like linear things that you do that I've noticed.
Yeah.
So there is that. So it's not just straight up kind of mindless rock drumming.
It's funny because it's stuff that you dissect a little bit more after everything's done, where you go like, oh, I noticed that there's like a theme. A lot of it just kind of, especially with the way we write, where the other guys come up with riffs and then I shit all over them after they're done. Like, all right, we have a song that's kind of almost done. Like, no, you don't. Don't like this one. Don't like this. No. But yeah, it is something that I dissect a little bit more after everything's done and go like, oh yeah, that's interesting how that fit together.
Are there any particular drummers that you feel akin to in your style when you hear that maybe would have been influential early on, and maybe there's still some remnants of them in your playing?
I have drummers that I really like, but that my style isn't very similar to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the most honest answer I can give is I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have who would say are in your top 5 devoid of style?
And it's kind of an obscure one to list, but I always listed Will Scharf from Keel Hall as one of my favorite drummers.
He's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, just because, I don't know, he's got a very unusual style.
I think he's kind of the Keith Moon of metal, of
Yeah.
like metal drumming. He's kind of erratic and kind of wild but
Yeah.
awesome
And
and high energy.
My favorite part about his drumming is when you see him live, he looks exactly like you'd expect the person who's playing that shit. Where you go, like, he's got this creepy smile on his face.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he is honestly one of my favorite drummers.
He's awesome.
Of all time.
Yeah, I met him once, and I have a funny story to tell. I saw him at a Keel Hall show, and I just said, "Man, what is like your drumming grand vision or whatever?" It wasn't that verbatim, but he said, "Oh, I just vomit purple shit everywhere." That was his answer, and I remember thinking, I don't know why purple. But I kind of see where you're going with that.
Yeah, Will is we're good friends with Will. We stay with him every time we go to Cleveland.
Nice.
And he's a legit weirdo.
Yeah.
He's exactly what I, having heard his drum. We met him years and years ago. We stayed with him on the first U.S. tour we did because Gordon Conrad, who used to run Escape Artist, now he works at Season of Mist, who we're on now. He hooked us up with a place to stay with Will, so we weren't playing Cleveland and just had nowhere to go. And he asked Will if he would let us crash there, and that was in 2003.
Wow!
So we've known him for a long, long time. But yeah, he's a genuine weirdo in the best possible sense.
I've got to get him on the podcast. I met him. They did a Crawl reunion here.
Okay.
And he was here, and I didn't get to catch up with him until after the fact. And I was like, dude, we got to do this interview. So one of these days, Will, if you're listening, we got to do it, dude.
We'll have to email him a link.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He can hear it.
Yeah. Send him some messenger pigeons, perhaps. You know.
However you can contact Will. I know I'm friends with his wife on Facebook. I'll send her.
We'll contact her and then we'll make it work. So we talked about long trips, long drives. I love the first story. What's some of the dumbest shit that's happened that you've done on tour, or what's some of the stranger gigs that you played? We were talking about arm wrestling earlier, and I'll start with my story so you can think about your own in the meantime. But I know that one of the tours that I did through Germany, I was arm wrestling a good bit at the time. And I beat everyone on that tour with the exception of this one gigantic dude that it was completely irresponsible of me to be arm wrestling somebody this big and that scary on a tour while I still had to potentially play drums after the fact.
Yeah.
And to this day, my bicep tendon is a little fucked up, and if I sleep on my right side, it's fucked up. So I'm reminded of arm wrestling that Cro-Magnon bear in the fucking woods of Germany. And like I said, the next morning I woke up and he was lifting empty kegs, roaring like a bear in the woods. I was like, what the fuck kind of wild animal was I jeopardizing my drumming career with last night?
Yeah, that's one of those ones that you don't think about until you've already injured yourself. The story that I had was arm wrestling on, I think it was the ferry from, we took a ferry from Denmark, or no, it was Germany to Sweden.
Yeah.
So it was a long ferry. So the whole crew was up all night, not like partying super hard, but we were having fun.
Yeah.
And the sound tech for one of the other bands was a really big guy, and I was little drunk and saying that I'm really good at arm wrestling.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm not a big guy, but I'm pretty good. I probably could beat you. And he took the challenge, and I did beat him. It took a while, but I think I beat him via endurance, honestly.
See, that's a scary thing, and that's how you get injured.
Yeah, no, and I tweaked something in my elbow, and for the rest of the tour, it was Tiger Balm that I was rubbing all over my elbow, which doesn't really help. Oh, it tingles.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't hurt anymore. Really?
Yeah.
No, my skin tingles over what clearly is an injury now. But that sucked because that was like a 6-week tour.
Oh, and did you do this towards the beginning of it?
It was near the beginning.
Oh, God, dude.
Yeah. And I think by the end of it had kind of settled down, but it was not fun. And it was just such a dumb way of hurting yourself.
It truly is.
Yeah.
It truly is. I'm amazed you were willing to go to the war of attrition because that's how you get injured. And now that since then, it sounds like we've both watched arm wrestling tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so now you know the proper form to not try to just let your arm out there and extend things.
You gotta stay tight.
Yeah, you got to stay tight, high and tight, bro.
Even if you're losing, you keep everything tight.
Keep it locked.
Yeah, keep it locked up.
Well, what's one of the weirdest gigs you've played, man? I mean, Kenmode's been doing this for 15 years.
Like a lot of weird bad, but they're not good stories.
Right.
I remember some of the ones in Europe where you're playing on a boat and a big ship another big boat goes by and you feel the whole, like you're in the middle of the set and you feel the whole boat kind of go. Whoa.
You're trying to keep in time when you're fucking floating in space.
And it's especially when you're doing some sort of physical exertion, you're not really aware of it, but your inner ear goes, hey, something's wrong. You're going, what is happening? Yeah. In fact, that one in particular, I remember not knowing that that's what happened, and then after the set, one of the guys in the band said, like, hey, did you feel when that boat came by? I'm like, I didn't know what that was, but I felt something weird.
Oh, man. What about technical meltdowns? I know
that happens all the fucking time. The first show on this tour, first song, my kick drum pedal broke.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The beater? Like the beater?
the
chain?
So it's a DW 5000, and there's this little piece that has the hinge on it that connects the foot plate and the heel plate, and it just right in the middle where it's got like a flat part that attaches to the foot plate, and then a little hinge, and then a flat part that attaches to the heel plate. And one of the pieces right by the hinge just snapped, so the whole thing came off.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's one of those ones where when that happens, like, there's nothing you can do.
That absolutely sucks.
So I have a double pedal, and one song into the tour, I was just kind of laughing, going like,
were you able to play the rest of the set with your left foot, or did you?
No, well, no. So this was on the main pedal.
Okay.
So I just the venue had a house kit, and it had a pedal, but it was a single pedal.
Okay.
So I basically went like, all right, well, we're cutting this song because that has a lot of double kick in it, and then the rest of the set we just played as is, cut one song, and then for the rest of the set I was as we were going through it going like, oh, there's double pedal on this part. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oopsie daisy.
So we made do, but it was a funny start when it's the first show of the tour, first song, it broke, and I hadn't been having problems with it. It was just a surprise.
Oh shit!
And those DW parts are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I ended up getting a replacement part in Atlanta.
Oh,
it
wow.
was $45 just for that one little piece.
Damn.
Thanks, DW.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
man. Well, what's going on with the rest of this tour? How much longer do y'all have to go? Because y'all going into Europe, you got a little stretch here.
So in my head, it's like two separate little runs.
Okay.
So we've got, this is the 10th show, 11th show.
Okay.
Of this one. Then we've got 5 after this, and then we're home for a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then we have another couple weeks in Europe. So it's the two combined. All of them were with Birds in Row, and they're from France.
And y'all playing my bud Coil Guns, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
We're gonna be riding with Coil Guns out in Europe.
Nice. I'm a fan of the drummer Luke Hess. He used to play in the Ocean, and the Ocean played here. And if you watch the video of the Ocean playing at St. Vitus, the Vistalite kit with a fleur-de-lis for the Saints, or depending on where you're from in Canada, I guess, French, whatever.
Yeah.
That's my Vistalite kit that he's playing on that
cool.
gig that they videotaped here.
Cool.
Luke is a fucking awesome drummer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we met most of the guys in the Ocean when they were on Summer Slaughter.
Okay.
We had done a tour with Revocation, who was on the Summer Slaughter tour with the Ocean.
Right.
And we played Austin the same night, so they came out to our show after their show was done. But they were super nice dudes.
When you were out with Revocation, was Ash playing drums at that point?
No.
Okay, so it was the original drummer.
Yeah, it was Phil.
Nice.
But
Another awesome shredder drummer.
We've met Ash since then because he's a Canadian boy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sicko drummer.
Yeah, he's a madman.
Totally
He's the
incredible.
classic metal drummer madman though, where he's a you know, as much as you can call a very precise, nerdy guy a madman, he's a madman player.
Right.
But he's not a madman. He seems very calm, cool, and collected.
Well, he's also Canadian, so I think that's where that comes into play.
There are crazy Canadians, but
I believe it.
We're like crazy Americans light. Though.
Right. Yeah. Not quite the rednecks that I grew up with.
No. Yeah.
But you like doing redneck shit. That's what's funny. You're just nice. And
yeah.
You're nice people.
Some of that's just there's nothing else to do. So you do
right.
crazy shit.
Exactly. Fuck yeah, man. Well, Shane, it was fun talking to you, dude. Congrats on the record. Good luck on the rest of the tour.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to seeing y'all shred some fucking Canadian noise rock.
Should be good.
Up in this piece tonight.
I hope so. It looks like there's a good crowd up there already, so it'll be good.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to both Shane and the Kenmode guys, as well as St. Vitus Bar for continuing to put on killer shows. We'll catch you on the next one, y'all. Crash, bang, boom.